So I want to talk about the compelling event, which essentially is some type of disruption in the business that's forcing that business to take action or make a change. When it comes to selling solutions, we're always focusing on some type of problem or issue that's arose, right, that got us to the table. We define this as a compelling event. I've been doing this for a few years now and have worked, obviously with a lot of different companies and a lot of different opportunities. And, one thing that remains true throughout is, without some type of compelling event or strong business case, the likelihood of actually closing that opportunity is going to be very little. So, understanding how to recognize that, what are some traditional compelling events that could come up is going to be very valuable for you to understand. So the one that kind of comes up, probably since the inception of the cloud is server refresh, right? Hardware refresh. This is a compelling event. Now it's always going to be very tough to put a timetable around this event because people can kind of milk the infrastructure for so long. But at the end of the day, something needs to happen. An example of this would be, there's a customer we worked with recently who they were using a storage provider that went out of business. So their storage array that they had is made by a provider that is no longer supporting this for them. So that is a compelling event, meaning that they're going to need to do something about this. Of course, this was in their DR side, but so we obviously worked together with that. But that was a spark plug for them and a compelling event. So know what that is. Understand, how they're buying, because whenever you have a hardware refresh coming up, technology that was available to them back when they initially purchased that versus now is going to be completely different. And the cost model around is going to be different too, as well as the over-the-top services such as the managed cloud. Next one is security. I think we've all heard about ransomware attacks, DDoS attacks, right? I mean, that's a huge spark plug for a company to turn the lights on and say, listen, we got to do something here, right? What we're doing is not working, we're too vulnerable. Gateway product security, obviously, if they had an attack, we certainly empathize with that situation. But let's come in and put in the right preventative measures to ensure that that doesn't happen again, and then kind of build on new technologies from there. Compliance, got audited, failed an audit, wrote a check, whatever it is. Maybe it had a pre-audit done or what have you. So those are something that's going to raise awareness. If they're not compliant, that's going to make them to make a change, right? The compelling events do nothing more than force them to have some type of direction and make a decision. Of course, we're going to make sure that we're trying to put together and you're trying to get the right solution for them to do that. Limitations on technology with their current provider, whether it's an MSP or a hosting provider, whether it's performance, whether it's lack of ingenuity and forward thinking on the technology piece. Those are all things that are inhibiting their business. Therefore, we consider that a compelling event, right? M&A, right? You got a company that's looking heavy merger and acquisitions. They've got these plans in place coming up, but they don't have the platform to be able to sustain that, right? What I mean by that is you take a central office that has their data center in it, right? They're the core company that's going to be merging and acquiring. They're going to have the capacity internally to be able to bring those companies into theirs. If they have limitations on that capacity, then of course they're not going to be able to bring them in, right? Thus for limiting their ability to scale. So big compelling event for them as well. And then the C-levels. I see this a lot. I see C-suites educating themselves. Take a step back. C-levels are a mile wide and an inch deep, right? That means they know a little bit about a lot. And they're starting to become very forward thinking when it comes to technology, reading articles, trying to understand what's available to the business, but they're not getting into the weeds. They just know that this is going to help my business. This is how, right? This is the profile. This is what I can expect to get from that. So that's going to be something they're going to want to drive down. If there's limitations on that side, then obviously they're going to recognize those and they're not going to be very happy about that. So understand that the C-suite, right? And if they're driving it, at the end of the day, they're making decisions, and it's their job to make sure the business is heading in the right direction. And then the last one really is going to be around OpEx versus Capex. Businesses these days, the economy is doing well, right? People are making money, but we're always preparing for the worst, right? So the more that we can have a predictable cost around our IT, the better it's going to be for any type of financial mind, because it's going to give them a level of comfort that they're not going to have any type of scope creep come up or some type of unforeseen expenses that they may not be prepared for that could potentially hurt their business. So understand the events, understanding that particular business, what drives them, and what's happened recently, and obviously that's going to help us be able to put together the right solution and help their business get better.